Hey everyone, it's McClintock here for PlayNation.eu. I'm here to bring you a short video supplement for my Gone Home review that you should be able to find on the PlayNation site by the time this goes up. Now, a little bit about this game. Gone Home is from a small studio called the Fulbright Company. This game came out a few weeks ago now, and I finally had a chance to play it all the way through to completion. It's not a very long game, and there's very little of it I want to spoil for you since it's so short and it's so narrative based, narrative driven, and it's more of a game of exploration as well. I'm just going to walk you through maybe the first 5 minutes of the game, and then I'll just sort of leave it at that, and hopefully this will give you a small taste of what you'd be in for with Gone Home. So I'm just going to start a new game here. Yes. And mechanics wise, the game is not very complicated. As you can see here, it's a first person game, so you're going to use your arrow keys or your WASD to move around, and you're going to use your mouse to control the camera, and that is the gist of it. Now we're just going to sit here. The initial load is a bit slow, and also my computer is not state-of-the-art, so it will take a bit longer. So yeah, back to mechanics. It's first-person exploration. The main points of interaction are you looking around, interactive objects. You'll be opening a lot of doors and drawers and cupboards, picking things up, examining them, and putting them back. There's a small inventory system, also a map system. Most of the time you just be cruising through, walking around, exploring, and just taking in the audio and text information as you come across it. So we have a bit of a short intro here. Just going to set things up quite simply.
Hi, Mom. So I got my ticket home from Europe. I get back on June 6th, but it's a really late flight because that was the cheapest, so it gets in at midnight. But don't worry, I'll get a shuttle from the airport so you don't have to pick me up. Like, really seriously, you don't have to. Okay, so love you. See you soon. Bye.
And there you have the setup for the game. So the game takes place in the mid-90s, as you can see there. And for someone of my age, I grew up in the 90s. I was a teenager and a young adult in the 90s, which dates me a little bit. But it's very clear that the developers who worked on this game also came from that era. There's a total nostalgia trip throughout this game, but what I really love is that everything is very understated. Everything has a purpose, and it's not like a cheap nod to the past, or it's trying to hit you over the head with the 90s nostalgia. It's actually handled very tastefully, and it's all in the details, really. And it's just for me to go through this game is a real kick, simply for the 90s atmosphere. And I must say that the game, if you couldn't already tell, oozes quite a bit of atmosphere despite the very mundane setting. So it's a dark and stormy night. We're in the middle of a rainstorm, and the main character who you play has just come back from a very exciting Euro trip. This is the first time she's been away from home, and now she is back to see her family. She's come back from her trip, and doesn't seem like anyone's home. So we can crouch. There's a very deliberate speed to the crouch, and that's about it. There's no jumping. So we're going to walk up to this lamp. Everything that you can interact with comes with what you call like a text tooltip here. Please pardon the slightly poor frame rate. It says I'm running the frame rate. It's averaging about 15, and I do have it on the very lowest detail. So, although I'm not running the fastest rig in the universe, typically when I play indie game, I do expect things to run a bit smoother. So the optimization is perhaps not the best, but the low frame rate actually has no discernible impact on the enjoyment of the game, at least for me. So anything you pick up, you can just toss anywhere on the ground. And there's some tutorializing for you. This is our inventory screen. You actually don't need to come in here very often. Again, it kind of goes back to the game's focus on details, just letting you examine things and get the backstory of this world just through examining objects. So we see the main character's passport, her boarding pass, and the key you just picked up. That I just picked up, I should say. And then we do have a journals log that will fill up very quickly as we progress through the game. And even though I just chucked the duck here, the floor, you can. There's a hotspot designated for all the objects you pick up, so you can set it back to where it belongs in its rightful place by just hovering over the spot where you picked up the object, and that's a nice little touch, especially if you're obsessive compulsive in a way like I am, where you just want to put things where they were and not make a mess. So there's one more control mechanic that we haven't touched on yet, and that is the zoom. So we see here we have a note on the door. We're just going to zoom in to read what it says in the note. Back of the bit as well. So right off the bat, we see we got a note from Sam. Sam, we can assume, is someone from your family. Sam is actually your sister. It doesn't take too long for that information to be revealed. So Sam has taken off somewhere. And so the crux of the game is you're just going to find out, first of all, where everyone is, why no one's in the house, and why specifically Sam has went away. I don't know if she's run away or something happened to her. That's the main goal of the game, essentially. It's for you to find out what happened. So part of the step here is your family, while you were away on your Euro trip, family moved into a new town, moved into a new house. And so even though you're coming home to your family, there's a sense of the unfamiliar. And of course, you as the player do not know anything about this world, but it kind of puts you on the same footing as the main character, who really has not set foot in the house before until now. So really I'm just going to explore a couple rooms and just to give you a feel for how things are done here. There are a lot of lamps in this game. Yeah, so I'm just going to explore a couple rooms, and then I'll leave it at that, and then this will give you a good taste. I don't want to go too far in, again, because the game is very short, and a lot of the enjoyment is derived from just exploring on your own. So here, a folder left on the table. You can read the invoice. So it's from the movers, and the game has a nice little thing where you could click the X to shut off whatever close-up view you have, or you can just right-click on your mouse.
Dear Katie, so much has changed, even just since you've been away. We moved into this house. I'm in a new school, and my big sister being gone for a year doesn't make it any easier. It doesn't feel real, but I'm not gonna let it faze me. I used to tell you everything, and if I can't do it in person, because you're off gallivanting around who knows where, I'll tell it to this journal, just like I was talking to you.
So that was just the first of many audio logs. They're not exactly audio logs. What the game is doing is, these are just pages or entries from your Sister Sam's journal. And what's happening is that these audio logs are coming back as sort of like a flashback. And you'll know exactly what I mean, after you play through the game, but you're not actually picking up an audio log as you would in a more traditional first-person game, and hearing someone's pre-recorded message. This is all sort of like outside the world narration, the narration from within the character's head. So quite, I guess, cinematic in that respect. Not something you see done in games a lot. So, as you might expect, the house is pretty much wide open to you. There are some locked areas, so you do have to progress in a certain order, but for the most part, the house is pretty wide open. On my first playthrough, I combed through the ground level first before moving upstairs, but there's nothing stopping you from just going straight upstairs and exploring that way. And what's really cool is that you can sort of feel the deft hand of the designers behind the scenes. They took a lot of care in placing the journal entries and the different story bits in places where you could come across them in different orders and a different sequence. So it's not like you're losing the meaning or getting the story in the incorrect order if you just do some more freeform exploring. At the same time, I think the developers did sort of understand the tendencies of gamers like myself to very systematically go through each room in order. So I think things are pretty well optimized for someone who really wants to thoroughly explore the house in the order in which they encounter things. Someone like me, right? So it's like I went through every little thing here as I came across it. So we have another note. These are just driving directions. It gives you a sense of family just moved here and they needed to sort of find their way around. So it was a nice little touch. Crouch down, take a closer look at things if you need to. We can just use the zoom. And then we'll just take a peek into the closet here. The string, what goes on. See here, the jacket belonging to the character's mother. She's a forestry conservationist. The remnants of the big move, of course. And we have a board game here. So once you have something in your hand, you, as you can see here, it tells you to right mouse click and hold. And you can rotate to examine whatever it is you have in your hand. Really elegant low system for just picking up and examining objects. And then again, there's the hot spot for putting the object back where it was. I'm just gonna close the door behind us. So, yeah, before I get too carried away and playing more of the game, I like I said, I finished the game. Only took about a couple hours, but there is replayability. There are a couple rooms that were still locked, and I didn't actually get into them because I didn't find a key or I didn't find a combination lock. So I actually feel like I want to go through the game again, even though I just finished it. So I encourage you to check out my review on playnation.eu and give this game a look. It's very different, obviously, and I'll go into more detail in my review on why I think this game is really important, why I think it's a great game to just experience. And yeah, thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.